Hey, what up, yo? It's your boy OG.ROLYTONY, the one and only pimp god. You know what it is. We keep it pushing around here. No matter what y'all thinking, no matter what y'all doing, you know your boy OG coming up with something. You feel me? What we gonna talk about today? Today we gotta talk about one of the biggest lies that's gonna come through. It's NBA 2K26 selling us a big bag of cap. We gonna find out. They saying the so-called, no more RNG. That's right. Wang told the community that randomness in the gameplay will be gone in 2K26. But we'll see. Because in the past, he been selling us a whole bag of cap. You feel me? So, I seen some wild stuff, and we all have. The jump shot that says the green window is either green or miss. Let's see. We'll see about that. Let's talk about, in this video, I'm gonna break down what Wang actually said, where RNG still exists in the NBA 2K26, where will it exist, and how it's gonna affect you, especially in the park, in the rec, or in the mine team, and what 2K should really do about it. That's the thing we gotta get to the bottom of, Let's get into it, All right, first off, let's define RNG, random number generator, whatever that is, and it's basically a roll of dice inside the game code. You do something like, take a shot, go for a steal, or, open a pack. The game rolls the invisible dice. It decides if you succeed or not. Now, some randomness is realistic. Basketball is unpredictable, but 2K, man, most of the time, the randomness often overpowers your skills. It's like your IQ really don't matter in this game. You feel me? That's how it's been in the past, and I think that's how it's gonna continue to be, because the game want to control what you really do in a lot of different aspects. It's like you're gonna see in the game. Trust me, remember this. You're gonna see in a game where you perfectly time a shot, but it breaks anyways. You're gonna see in the game where you read the pass and still you ain't gonna get the steal. You're gonna see in the game, trust me, this is what's coming. You hit a green and it doesn't register. You're gonna see that in the game. So when Wang says, RNG will be removed or reduced, we expect actual skill-based gameplay. That if I'm balling and I got the IQ to ball, you should let me ball, let me do what I gotta do. You feel me? But let me show you why that's just not gonna be true. This is why I think he's capping. This is the reason why. This is why his promises, or whatever it is, this is why he's capping. Trust me, he's capping. Back before release, Wang, and the devs, they usually drop gameplay, blogs, tweets, and videos saying, things like, we're moving away from RNG based outcomes, and skill will matter more, more than ever. No more lucky shots animation. But that ain't gonna be the case, And the game's gonna drop, and the players are gonna notice. Trust me. So the players are gonna notice instantly that they were promised one thing and they got something else. That's usually the 2K shenanigans. You're gonna see in the shooting mechanism, white still gonna randomly fall. You can be late on your meter and you still gonna hit. You can be early and miss a perfect window. Contest doesn't always, on defense, the contest won't always register. And sometimes 30% contest will go in like it's open gym. That's what we gonna see. We gonna see that in 2K26. I'm predicting this because it's gonna happen. And on defense, RNG still gonna be all over the damn game. On defense, you go for a steal, you press square at the perfect timing, and nothing happens. Or even worse, you're gonna get called for a foul, you know, with an intercepted, badge that works in one play and doesn't work in another 10 play. That's RNG. Even in the same game. And rebound it. For my bigs that like to rebound and do all that, for my ramen bills, rebound. You box out, you jump early or on time right there, and somehow the ball warps around you and the other player gets the rebound. That's RNG. RNG is deciding which direction the ball goes after a miss. So all that capping, Mike Wang doing and they doing out there, and y'all hyping this crap already. So that's just what it's gonna be. That's just what it's gonna be. I don't know. It sounds amazing. No RNG, yeah. It sounds amazing. Finally, a true skill gap is coming. No more full whites. Balling out bad players. No more guessing if your timing will register or not. You time your shot, you get rewarded. That's what Mike Wang's saying. We'll see. There will still be plenty of RNG in shooting because there always is. That's what it's gonna be. First of all, unless you green and everything, you're still gonna be at the mercy of the dice roll. Either slightly early, slightly late. The game still rolls behind the scene and says, yep, maybe we'll let you, hit this shot this time around. But that's not all, Contest detection is inconsistent. And it will be inconsistent. You're going to shoot it wide open, but suddenly it says, 9% covered or worse. You're going to green it, and the game retroactively gives it a 30% ghost shot contest. That ain't skills. That's going to be the engine doing whatever it wants to do. That's what's going to continue to happen. That's what we've been having for years because this is about money. And let's not even get into the lag and the latency. That's another aspect of it. You time your shot perfectly, on your screen, but 2K, service says, nah, fam, that was late. You feel me? How's that not RNG built into the whole shenanigans? You're not missing. The delay is. That's what's gonna happen. And even with badges, man, there's a lot of stuff built into this. Even badges, randomness. Badges like Deadeye, limitless range, blinders, all that. They all operate off the same engine. A chance to reduce a penalty. That means even if you do everything right, the badge might not activate properly or give you the benefit when it matters. That's RNG. It's still gonna be in the game somehow. Green windows shrink and they expand. Green windows, they're gonna adjust dramatically depending on distance, coverage, defender's height, or your adrenaline bar, and more. There's a lot to it. So it's not just, one tunnel vision of no RNG type of thing. There's a lot going on in the game that's gonna affect your shot. That means that the window to hit a shot is never gonna be consistent. Sometimes it's wide, sometimes it's gonna be microscopic. Even if you have the same release, the same jump shot, and the same build, it's gonna change every single shot. Trust me, it will. There's a lot to do with momentum. There's a lot to do with takeover. That's RNG.